What's going on, movie fans? It's Wes, Mr. Movie Night, yours truly here, hanging out in the movie room. I've been working a lot lately. I'm tired, and I'm sorry I haven't had a movie-related video up in a while. But I got this cool idea from checking out a new YouTuber. Her name is Gina Nowicki, and I'm going to leave a link to her channel. And go check her out because she does some great horror movie reviews and some great movie reviews in general. And I feel she needs some more subscribers, or she deserves some. But I got this idea from her channel, and it's a nice juicy subject, and I just had to explore that today. What I'm going to do is, now you guys have seen me do a lot of stuff about disturbing films and you know, things like that. But I'm going to do my top 5 scenes, scary or chilling or creepy, if you will, scenes in films that I have in my collection. Now, there's lots of creepy scenes out there in movies, and you know, a lot of times you kind of remember a movie based on one or two, you know, key scenes that really freak you out, and you know, that alone kind of makes the film a scary film for you. So this is tricky. There's lots of scary scenes out there, and I wanted to stick with ones that I actually own so that I could hold up a DVD or a Blu-ray and show you. But not that these are necessarily my top 5 scariest or creepiest movie scenes of all time by any means, because there's obviously some that I've seen that I don't own the film. But again, these are ones that actually are in my collection, so I can actually show you the physical copy of the disc. And I just thought I'd do it that way. So I'm going to start off, and again, like I say, these are going to be debatable, and that's fine. So if your opinion differs from mine, you know, I challenge you to do a video response and show me your top 5 creepiest scenes in your collection. But anyway, I'm going to start with number 5 here. And now there's going to be some spoilers, obviously. If you haven't seen these films, I'm going to be describing these key scenes in, you know, as much detail as I can remember. So if you haven't seen the film, it could be a major spoiler for you. So just be forewarned, if you haven't seen the films that I mentioned here, you may not want to listen to the description of the scene and have the film spoiled a little bit for you. But I'm going to start off with 1979/1980, John Carpenter's The Fog. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, yeah, that's kind of cheesy. I don't really know what would be so scary about that. Honestly, what does it for me with this film is the very last scene. And I think it's also just the idea of it as well as the visuals. I mean, it's creepy visually. It's creepy all the way around just because, like I say, the idea of it. And you guys that haven't seen this, obviously, it's basically about these ghost pirates or ghost thieves or whatever you want to say, that pretty much come back to locate these 6 conspirators that lit a false campfire and led them to their deaths because they didn't want to share in a gold treasure that they had found. So not to go in a whole lot of detail about the film, but the final scene, you have Father Malone, I believe it is, played by Hal Holbrook. And, you know, turns out in his ancestry, he was one of the conspirators, or he was related to one of the original conspirators that were responsible for these ghost pirate deaths. So the whole movie, obviously, he's fighting against these ghosts, and at the end, he gives Blake, who is like, you know, the main pirate or the main ghost, he gives him back his gold. You know, remember the scene where they grab onto the cross and it sort of you know, disappears, and then the ghosts kind of all go away, the fog retreats, and everything is pretty much over with. Now, it's pretty stupid, this comment that he makes at the end of the film. I guess he's curious as to why his life was spared. And he goes into this, you know, everything's kind of over and done with, everything's calm, and he walks into this sanctuary, and there's dim lighting in there, and it's just kind of a creepy, quiet feel to it. And he kind of walks in there, and he's thinking to himself, and he kind of says out loud, he's like, "Why not 6, Blake? Why not me?" You know, pretty much saying, "Why didn't you take me? I'm related to one of the bad guys that you want to get. Why did you spare my life? And right about that time, fog creeps in under the door again. It's like, oh crap, here comes the fog again. Creeps in up under the door, and you sort of see, it cuts to a shot kind of behind, Father Malone. All the pirates are standing there again. There's Blake with his red eyes glowing, and he pulls back on his knife, and lops off the head of Father Malone, and of course, that goes to the credit screen. So that really creeped me out the first time I saw that. And again, just the idea of it, it's like, you know what, you were alive, you were spared, and now you're going to question it, and look out, because, behind you now, here is he shows up again, and he decapitates him. And just the look of that, the whole idea and look of that scene creeped me out. So anyway, we're going to move on now. Number 4. And I'm sure most of you have seen this. This is actually a made-for-TV film by Tobe Hooper, or Toby Hooper, however you want to say it. Believe it or not, it's very creepy for a TV film, or a mini-series rather, kind of like that. But this is from around the same time, actually, around 1979, 1980, and this is Salem's Lot. There's lots of creepy scenes in this film, and I think I've heard other people mention this before, probably a top 5, a lot of people's creepy scenes, but the scene where the kid is asleep at night in the bed, and he's got this large window in his room, it's dark in the room, and he's laying there asleep, and all of a sudden you see outside this light kind of turns on somewhat, all this smoke and fog starts billowing up in front of the window, and this little kid, basically the ghost of a dead, or a dead kid that's been bitten, a vampire ghost, whatever, floats up to the window, and he's got these dark circles under his eyes, and his face is pale, and it's the creepiest looking thing. He taps on the window, and it's like this tss, tss, tss. It's this crazy, creepy kind of sound, anyway, the kid gets up from the bed, walks over like a dummy. I don't know why he opens the window, but he opens the window. The kid comes floating in, and it's just real spooky, and pretty much, kind of lets out this somewhat of a scream, and then bites him in the neck. I think he bites him in the neck. It's been a little while since I've seen it, but anyway, from Salem's Lot, that scene really spooked me out, man. I probably saw it when I was pretty young, actually, and it really creeped me out. So I got to go with that for number 4. Number 3 is a film that has tons of creepy scenes in it. It's just loaded with them, and this is from 1980. It's funny that these films I picked, at least the first 3, are around the same year. I don't know how I managed to do that, but anyway, 1980, and this is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, obviously full of tons of creepy scenes. But the one that got me the most and really comes to mind is the classic, Danny's riding his big wheel down the hallway. It's got this tight camera shot behind him that's sort of tracking, behind his big wheel. He's turning these corners, and you're seeing down these hallways, and it's right up on him, and it's just the way that is shot. It's just creepy already. Then he turns a corner, and there are the 2 little girls, and they're standing there, and they're looking at him, and they say, "Come and play with us, Danny. We'll be friends forever and ever." And it starts cutting to flashbacks of them laying, basically axe murdered on the ground there, that their dad had chopped them up, killed them, and it shows these quick little flashes. You all have seen it, but they're laying there, and there's the blood and the axe, and it's just really creepy. And Danny has to cover his eyes because he sees it. Obviously, he sees what happened. That scene is very creepy. The first time I saw that, it just traumatized me. It's so scary, and it's still scary. I mean, you watch that late at night and tell me it's not going to scare you. Over and over, no matter how many times you see it, just the atmosphere of it, the way it was filmed, just very creepy. So I got to go with that for number 3. Obviously, that's from The Shining. All right, folks. What can you say is not creepy about this film? But you guys are probably going to be kind of shocked at the scene that really kind of bothered me the most. This thing's full of tons of scenes that are creepy as all get out, and just will really bother you and disturb you for a long time, even after you turn the film off. But one scene in particular that really just spooked me to the max was when they're performing the final exorcism in Reagan's room, and I can't remember, is the main priest, is it Father Maris? I think it's Father Marin, something like that. The character played by Max von Sydow, the older head priest rather. And they're in the doing the exorcism, and they take a break, and the idea was to never be alone in the room with her. They need to work in pairs because the devil can attack more when it's just one person, and they don't have much of a as much of a defense, I guess. Anyway, the Max von Sydow is driven to basically have a heart attack because of the trauma that Reagan, being possessed and all, is putting forth on him. So he falls over with a heart attack, basically, and then it cuts to this scene where she's sort of cowered in the corner of the bed, and she's laughing and looking at him, and she's got this evil look on her face, and she's like laughing, and it's just so creepy that he's there dying, and she's just kind of, in this demonically kind of laugh, that, like it's some little game or something. And something about the tone of that and just the way that it was done, it just really creeped me out. And again, there's tons of creepy scenes in this, but that one in particular stands out as one that really bothers me. And it's just, again, the idea of it and just the way that it looks and the atmosphere, everything about it, it just really creeps me out. So that's what I got to pick for number 2 there for the Exorcist. And finally, I've worn this film out talking about it. You guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about it. I'm always putting it at the top of my scariest list and everything, but it is from, and I don't know the date on this one, but it's in the 80s as well, but it's the Peter Medak film, The Changeling, George C. Scott. This, again, I've said a lot of times, is one of the creepiest ghost story films I've ever seen. Just absolutely unsettling, and in every way it's just absolutely spooky. There's tons of scenes in this that just are very scary. But again, the one I've got to mention, this is my number 1 scary scene, is following the seance. Now, they do this seance, they bring in this lady, and there's a very creepy seance scene, and they've got this tape recorder. It's a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and she's asking questions, and she's channeling this boy, and basically nobody else at the table can hear anything. She's scribbling down, on this pad, basically what is being told to her. And so George C. Scott, he rolls tape on it, and they're all kind of sitting there. It's a very creepy seance scene. I mean, the way that it plays out is very creepy. But after the fact, after everybody leaves, he's sitting in his office, and he's playing back this tape, and he starts hearing the ghost voice starts coming in on the tape. He hears the psychic medium ask the question, and then he starts hearing the boy's voice. So it recorded on the tape, obviously, but they didn't hear it during the seance. He starts backing the tape up, and he's playing it, and he keeps going back, and he starts piecing together things. He's listening to this boy's answers, and he's getting freaked out, But there's this one part where she asks, "How did you die? How did you die?" He starts chanting that over and over, and it cuts to this like steady cam floating shot where the camera's like zipping through the house. It's just the creepiest thing I've ever seen. It's just the way they shot that. And the camera moves its way up into the attic where you see the boy in the bathtub, and the father is drowning him and doing all the whole thing. I mean, you guys know the story if you've seen this film, but he's basically drowning his son in the bathtub. He's beating against the walls of the bathtub. But the way that whole thing was revealed with the camera shot, just everything about that is just absolutely creepy as it can be. And so much so that even it makes George C. Scott pass out when he goes to make a phone call and call his lady friend and tell her what happened. But so a lot of rambling there, but that scene has got to be number 1 right now in my mind as far as what I own, as far as the creep factor on it. I mean, you folks turn the lights off and watch that and tell me you're not disturbed and creeped out by it. This was probably a lot more long-winded than I wanted it to be, folks, so I apologize for that. And some of the details that I've mentioned may be off because I haven't seen these in a while, and I don't have a photographic memory by any means, but I think it's a great topic, and those are my top 5 creepiest scenes right now in my collection that I actually own and that I can think of that actually bother me and disturb me and are just absolutely creepy. I encourage you to do a video response to this, or put in the comments below your creepiest scenes from a film, and you don't have to describe it in detail, but just mention the film and briefly mention the scene if you would like to. Thank you so much for subscribing and continuing to check out my videos and comment. You guys are all awesome. Check out Gina Nowicki. I'm going to leave her channel link in the bottom there. She's got some cool videos and does a really good job reviewing films, and I've enjoyed watching her stuff here lately. Again, I encourage you to jump in on this topic if you would like to, your top 5 creepiest scenes from films. And let's all continue to get these cool threads going in the horror community, so we can, you know, try to think of new ways to discuss film and everything like that. Really cool. You guys have a great weekend. Hopefully I'll see you soon again for another video. I'll keep watching yours, and thank you again for supporting me. Peace.